Year after year, a ton of incredible films are released only to end up going largely unnoticed, and 2018 is no different. But don't worry about missing out on all the future classics slipping under the radar. We've got the scoop on the very best. Adapted from writer Joe Kelly and artist J.M. Ken Nimura's graphic novel with the same name, I Kill Giants stars The Conjuring 2's Madison Wolfe as the plucky Barbara Thorson, an oddball outsider with her head in the clouds, a pair of bunny ears atop her head, and a Norse warhammer in her bag. The introverted Barbara uses her overactive imagination to create fantasy worlds she can escape to when things get tough at home. And when she's convinced a horde of giants is headed to Earth, she's the only one that can vanquish them.
I find giants, I hunt giants, I kill giants.
Blending together a coming-of-age tale, themes of grief and denial, magical realism, solid CGI, and captivating performances from Wolfe and supporting actors Imogen Poots, Zoe Saldana, and Sydney Wade, I Kill Giants is a magnificent monster movie that's monstrously moving. Murder is on the menu in writer-director Corey Finley's Thoroughbreds, a black comedy thriller that centers around childhood friends Lily and Amanda reuniting to cook up a devious plan. With the help of a hired drug dealer turned hitman, the two women plot to take out Lily's tyrannical stepfather Mark. The murder mission takes a few unexpected turns, arriving at an end you won't see coming. Rarely do first-time creatives get their debut as right as Finley did with Thoroughbreds. Despite the film's lack of big-budget promotion and pre-release hype, Rotten Tomatoes says the handful of viewers who saw it in theaters were, quote, left squirming, laughing, and gleefully entertained. In Academy Award-winning director Sebastian Lelio's Disobedience, forbidden love harkens back to Romeo and Juliet, but religious tension pushes it past the breaking point and headfirst into dangerous territory. Based on British author Naomi Alderman's 2006 novel, Disobedience stars Rachel Weisz as Ronit, a non-practicing Jewish woman who returns to her former Orthodox London community she was shunned from years earlier for a forbidden romance with a female schoolmate, Rachel McAdams Esty. Reunited years later, the two fall back in love, only this time, Esty's husband David turns their relationship into a triangle. Lelio creates a film that swirls with friction-filled strifes and bitter truths. Critics have flocked to the film, and David Rooney of The Hollywood Reporter has praised it, saying, "The movie's soulful reflections on collective faith and individual freedoms get under your skin, continuing to resonate after the end credits have rolled."
I want to take your picture.
As commonplace as the 21st century's technology seems, searching is anything but ordinary. Set almost entirely on computer and smartphone screens, the John Cho-led thriller follows David Kim, the father of 16-year-old Margot, who goes missing. With the help of the San Jose police, David combs through Margot's computer, retracing her online footprint in the hopes of finding his daughter. What follows is a heart-stopping journey that grows darker and more complex than David, and the audience, could have ever imagined.
I didn't know her. I didn't know my daughter.
Searching's unique approach, well-sustained suspense, and a twist you won't see coming make it one of the best movies of 2018, and one of the most original thrillers in a long time. Rafael Casal and Hamilton's Daveed Diggs teamed up to write the comedy drama you really shouldn't have missed out on. Blindspotting follows Diggs' Colin, a felon nearing the end of his year-long probation, and his best friend Miles, played by Casal, a fellow troublemaker whose influence could cost Colin the final 72 hours of his sentencing. Where Colin longs for a fresh start, Miles is on the hunt for danger in the rapidly gentrifying streets of Oakland, California. Their lives splinter when Colin witnesses a white cop kill a black man, and Miles' thirst for violence threatens devastating consequences.
Don't be who you is!
Many moviegoers missed Blindspotting due to its limited rollout last summer. Its later wide release came on the same day as the highly anticipated Mission Impossible Fallout, which stole the spotlight that weekend. That left Blindspotting, the film Business Insider called one of the most unique of 2018, just out of view. Taking a fantastic novel and translating it into an equally good film isn't an easy task. Where many have failed before, The Miseducation of Cameron Post succeeds as a coming-of-age drama that serves as a shining example of what can happen when a silver screen adaptation does right by its source material. Based on Emily M. Danforth's 2012 novel of the same name, the film centers on Chloe Grace Moretz's Cameron Post, who is outed as a lesbian when she's caught in the backseat of a car with another girl. Soon after, Cameron's conservative aunt orders her to undergo conversion therapy at a center called God's Promise. There, Cameron forms friendships with a handful of other teens who, like her, put up a fight against being re-educated.
I'm tired of feeling disgusted with myself.
A limited release that didn't register on most people's radar, The Miseducation of Cameron Post has been praised by Glenn Whipp of the Los Angeles Times as a powerful rejoinder to anyone who'd shame people into denying their authentic selves. From Academy Award-nominated director and co-writer Deborah Granick, Leave No Trace begins just before the boiling point. War veteran Will, played by Ben Foster, and his 13-year-old daughter Tom have been living in an isolated section of a public park. But when the survivalist duo make one small misstep, social services come calling.
You feel safe living with your dad?
We didn't need to be rescued.
Your dad needs to provide you shelter and a place to live.
He did.
They're taken in for extensive evaluations and set up with everything they need to live a normal life. Hot meals, clean clothes, stable shelter in the suburbs, school for Tom, a job for Will. While Tom tries her hardest to adapt to her new environment and embrace her surroundings, her father grows increasingly rigid until he decides to take Tom back into the wilderness.
If we try to attack,
We're wearing their clothes, we're in their house, we're eating their food, we're doing their work. We have adapted.
Leave No Trace definitely made its mark on audiences who caught it during its limited release run in June. San Diego reader Scott Marks had the most incisive point, saying, "Oscar will remember this movie." Award-winning director Steven Soderbergh casts aside the traditional trappings of filmmaking and embraces B-movie mojo with Unsane, a psychological horror thriller pick shot entirely on an iPhone 7 Plus. Claire Foy leads as Sawyer Valentini, a financial analyst who's moved away from her hometown in an attempt to evade her longtime stalker, David. Even hundreds of miles away, Sawyer's still experiencing the effects of David's torments and admits to her therapist that she's had self-destructive thoughts. Sawyer's confession lands her in a mental institution against her will.
I just needed to talk to someone, and the counselor said that Did she tell you to do this?
Miss Valentini, are you refusing to cooperate?
As if being locked away in a psychiatric hospital wasn't jarring enough, Sawyer's soon forced to confront her darkest fear while trapped inside those walls. The only question is the fear real or just a product of her paranoia?
I must be insane.
Despite its experimental nature and it being a Soderbergh joint, Unsane didn't drum up as much buzz as you'd expect. Still though, it hasn't gone without critical praise. The New Yorker's Richard Brody calls Unsane one of Soderbergh's best movies, the very spark of his artistic passion. All the more reason to see it yourself. One part pulpy crime story, one part heart-grabbing drama, Bomb City is a brilliant little film that made a bang without the general public even noticing. The Jameson Brooks-directed film follows Brian, a punk music-obsessed teen from Amarillo, Texas, who sticks out like a mohawk-adorned thumb in his conservative town. Thankfully, there are a number of other punks out there who view Brian as a sort of mouthpiece for the movement. But there are an equal number of jocks who regularly clash with the punks. Tensions bubble below the surface, then explode into a violent altercation that comes with a fatal consequence.
I lost my self-control.
Director Brooks based Bomb City on the real-life story of 19-year-old Brian Deneke, a punk who was killed in a furious fracas with the Texas town's seemingly clean-cut jocks. Not only does the film present the tragedy of Brian's death in a truthful and harrowing light, it also serves as a reminder that the American justice system isn't always moral. As Danielle White of the Austin Chronicle aptly puts it, the film's message, which it wields like a war chain, is a timeless one. Don't be such a to people because they look different from you. Joaquin Phoenix is in top form in You Were Never Really Here, writer-director Lynn Ramsey's film adaptation of Jonathan Ames's novel of the same name. Phoenix gives a darkly fervid performance as Joe, a former law enforcement agent and combat veteran struggling with PTSD.
McCleary said you were brutal.
I can be.
Post-FBI, Joe supports himself and his ailing mother by locating missing and trafficked young girls. On the brink of committing to one of his many suicidal fantasies, Joe's boss tasks him with finding 13-year-old Nina, the daughter of a New York State senator, who offers Joe a sizable sum to discreetly bring Nina home. Though Joe is properly equipped for the job, what he isn't prepared for is the triple-layer twist and the searing horrors that await him. Variety's Guy Lodge called the film stark, sinewy, and slashed to the bone. You Were Never Really Here is more than worthy of the global adulation its heavily promoted cinematic counterparts have received this year.